Captain Daeho Kim stood on the bridge of the Soul's Pride, watching the massive space station grow larger on the main screen. Nexus Prime was bigger than any city on Earth. It looked like a giant metal flower with thousands of ships flying around it like busy bees. First time seeing something like this? Asked Hyjin Park, the ship's chief diplomat. She was looking at the same screen, but her eyes were calm and focused. Yes, Daeho said. Hard to believe we finally made it this far. It had taken humans 300 years to build their first faster-than-light ship. Now they were about to meet the Galactic Confederation, a group of over 200 alien species that had been living in peace for thousands of years. Tae-Min Lee, their combat engineer, looked up from his control panel. Captain, they're sending us docking instructions. Bay 347C. Follow their lead, Daeho said. We're guests here. The Soul's Pride was not a big ship. It only had a crew of 50 humans, but it was the most advanced ship Earth had ever built. Daeho was proud to be its captain, even if he was nervous about what was coming next. As they got closer to the station, Hyjin pointed to the screen. Look at all those different ships. Each one must be from a different species. She was right. There were long, thin ships that looked like needles, round ships that spun slowly, ships that looked like they were made of crystal, ships that seemed to be alive and breathing. Amazing, Taemin said. I wonder what their weapons are like. We're not here to fight, Hyjin said quickly. We're here to make friends. The docking was smooth. As soon as they were connected to the station, a message came through their communication system. Welcome, humans of Earth, said a voice that sounded like it was coming from underwater. I am Ambassador Veltar, of the Saurid people. We are excited to meet you. Daeho, Hyjin, and Taemin walked through the airlock into the station. The air smelled different. Not bad, just different. There were strange sounds everywhere. Clicking, humming, and noises they had never heard before. Ambassador Veltar waited for them in a large room. He was tall and covered in green scales. His eyes were yellow and very large. When he saw them, he made a sound that might have been a laugh. So small, he said, and so cute. You look just like the Kepler species, but with no fur. Hyjin smiled politely. Thank you for welcoming us, Ambassador. We're honored to be here. Of course, Veltar said. We love meeting new species, especially peaceful ones like you. He led them through long hallways filled with aliens of all shapes and sizes. Some walked on 2 legs like humans. Others had 4 legs, or 6, or no legs at all. Some floated in the air. Some were so small they rode on the backs of bigger aliens. Your species is very interesting, Veltar said, as they walked. Our scientists have been studying the information you sent us. You are clearly herbivores. Like most civilized species. Herbivores? Taemin asked. Plant-eaters, Veltar explained. Peaceful creatures who do not hunt other animals. This is why you were able to build a civilization. Only herbivores can truly work together. Daeho and Hyjin looked at each other. They had not expected this conversation. Actually, Hyjin said carefully, humans eat both plants and meat. Veltar stopped walking. His big yellow eyes got even bigger. Meat? You mean, you kill other animals? Well, yes, Hyjin said, but we also grow plants for food. We eat both. Veltar made a strange noise. It might have been worry or surprise, I see. This is unusual, but you are clearly peaceful now, or you would not have been able to build spaceships and come here in friendship. They reached a large room full of aliens sitting at tables. This was the Confederation Council chamber. Veltar led them to a small table near the back. Please sit, he said. We will begin the classification process. Classification? Daeho asked. A new alien approached their table. This one looked like a giant insect with 4 arms and wings that buzzed softly. I am Quinda of the Qatari, she said. I am a military advisor. We must determine what category your species belongs to. She placed a small device on the table. It made beeping sounds as it scanned the 3 humans. Interesting, Quinda said, looking at the device. You have forward-facing eyes, sharp teeth, strong muscles, but you came here in peace, so you must be reformed predators. Reformed predators? Hyjin asked. Yes, Quinda explained. Some species used to be hunters long ago, but they learned to be peaceful. They gave up their violent ways to join civilization. The device kept beeping. Quinda looked confused. Strange, she said. The readings are not what I expected. Veltar looked at the device too. What does it say? It says they are active predators, Quinda said quietly. But that cannot be right. There are no active predators left in the galaxy. The room around them started to get quiet. Other aliens were looking at their table. What happened to the active predators? Daeho asked. Veltar and Quinda looked at each other. Neither one wanted to answer. They were dangerous, Veltar finally said. They could not live in peace with other species. So they were, removed. Removed, Taemin asked. Eliminated, Quinda said. For the safety of all civilized species. The last active predator species was destroyed 50,000 years ago. The room was very quiet now. Many aliens were staring at the humans. Hyjin felt her heart beating faster. And what happens if you find new active predators? The pacification protocol, Quinda said. We help them become peaceful, like all other species. It is for their own good, And if they refuse? Daeho asked. Nobody answered. An old alien with gray skin and 3 eyes approached their table. I am Counselor Morvik, he said. I think we need to talk privately. He led the 3 humans to a smaller room. When the door closed, his whole body seemed to sag. My people were once like you, he said quietly. We were hunters. We were strong. We were proud. What happened? Hyjin asked. The Confederation came to us, just like they came to you. They said they wanted to help us. They said they would make us better. Morvik's 3 eyes looked very sad. They changed us. They took away our strength, our pride, our identity. Now, we are just another peaceful species in their collection. They changed you, Taemin asked. Genetic modification, Morvik said. They altered our bodies and our minds. Made us unable to fight, unable to hunt, unable to be what we were born to be. The 3 humans looked at each other with growing fear. Is that what they want to do to us? Daeho asked. Yes, Morvik said. They will call it help. They will say it is for the good of the galaxy. But they will take everything that makes you human. We have to warn Earth, Hyjin said. Too late, Morvik said. The moment your ship arrived, they sent scouts to your home system. The pacification protocol has already begun. Through the window, they could see hundreds of Confederation ships moving in formation, all heading in the same direction, all heading toward Earth. Daeho felt something cold and hard settle in his stomach. They had come here hoping to make friends with the galaxy. Instead, they had led the galaxy straight to humanity's door. And now, they were trapped, watching as the Confederation prepared to destroy everything that made humans human. The Predator's choice was simple: submit to pacification, or fight the entire galaxy. Daeho looked at his 2 companions, and saw the same determination in their eyes that he felt in his heart. The Confederation was about to learn something they had forgotten in 50,000 years of peace. Predators do not go quietly into the night. Dr. Woojin Choi walked through the archives of Nexus Prime, pretending to study alien culture, but he was really looking for something else. Something the Confederation did not want humans to know. 3 days had passed since Captain Daeho Kim's meeting with the Council, 3 days since they learned about the pacification protocol. Woojin had volunteered to stay behind and learn more, while the Soul's Pride tried to return to Earth with a warning. Dr. Choi called a voice behind him. Finding everything you need, Woojin turned around. A young alien with blue skin and 4 arms was walking toward him. This was Threndi, a Confederation researcher who had been assigned to help him. Yes, thank you, Woojin said with a smile. Your history is fascinating. Which period are you studying? Threndi asked. The early days, Woojin said. How the Confederation was formed. Threndi's face changed slightly. That information is restricted. We focus on recent history, the last 10,000 years of peace. Of course, Woojin said, but he made a mental note. Why was early history restricted? Meanwhile, on Earth, So-Young Nam stood in the command center of Earth Defense Command. She was watching the large screen that showed their solar system. Red dots were appearing at the edges of the display. How many ships? She asked. 57 so far, said her assistant. More arriving every hour. So-Young had been expecting this. The Soul's Pride had sent a message before going silent. The Confederation was coming to help humanity become peaceful. Status of our defenses, she asked. All orbital platforms are online. The fleet is ready. But Director Nam, the assistant looked worried. We're facing the entire galaxy. Even if we fight perfectly, the numbers are against us. So-Young nodded. She knew the math, but she also knew something else. Have you contacted Jae-Sun Kang? Yes, ma'am. The underground networks are active. If they invade, they'll face resistance on every world, in every city. Back on Nexus Prime, Woojin was having trouble sleeping. He kept thinking about the restricted historical records. Finally, he decided to take a risk. Late at night, when most aliens were resting, he snuck back to the archives. He used a small device Tamin had given him to bypass the security locks. What he found made his blood run cold. The files were full of records about species that no longer existed. The Vorthok, who had been the greatest hunters in the galaxy, the Zeracons, who were too aggressive for civilized space, the Apex ones, who were a threat to galactic peace. Every single predator species had been eliminated or changed beyond recognition. You should not be here. Woojin spun around. An old alien with gray skin and 3 eyes was standing in the doorway. It was Morvik, the one who had warned Captain Kim. I'm sorry, Woojin started to say. No, Morvik said, stepping inside and closing the door. You are right to look. Everyone should know the truth. Morvik walked to one of the computer terminals and entered a code. New files appeared on the screen. My people, the Vorthok ruled 17 star systems, Morvik said. We were not evil. We were not monsters. We were simply strong. The screen showed pictures of the old Vorthok. They looked nothing like Morvik. They were tall and powerful, with sharp claws and fierce eyes. What happened to them? Woojin asked. The Confederation offered them a choice, Morvik said. Join us and be changed, or be destroyed. Most chose to be changed. A few chose to fight, and those who fought? Gone. Completely gone. Not even their planets remain. Woojin felt sick. How many species were destroyed? Hundreds, Morvik said. The Confederation has been doing this for 50,000 years. They find predator species, offer them the choice, and eliminate those who refuse. But why? Wu Jin asked. Why not just leave them alone? Because predators are unpredictable, Morvik said. They cannot be controlled. The Confederation leaders are afraid of anything they cannot control. On Earth, Jae Kang was meeting with resistance leaders in an underground bunker beneath Seoul. The room was crowded with people from all over the world. Bill come with words of peace, Jae said. Bill say they want to help us. They'll promise to make us better. And if we refuse? Asked Maria Santos, a resistance leader from Brazil. Then they'll use force, Jae said. But here's what they don't understand about humans. We've been fighting each other for thousands of years. We know how to fight. Against spaceships? Asked Ahmed Hassan from Egypt. Against anything, Jae said firmly. Our ancestors fought with sticks and stones. Then swords and guns. Then tanks and planes. Now we'll fight with whatever we have. The room was quiet for a moment. What about the people who want to accept their offer? Maria asked. This was the hard question. Not all humans would want to fight. Some would think the Confederation was right. Some would want to be peaceful. That's their choice, Jae said. But they don't get to make that choice for the rest of us. Back on Nexus Prime, Wu Jin was learning more terrible truths. Morvik showed him genetic modification centers, where aggressive aliens were brought to be fixed. They removed the parts of the brain that feel anger, Morvik explained. They weaken the muscles, they change the hormones. They make it impossible to fight back. This is slavery, Wu Jin said. Yes, Morvik agreed, but they call it peace. They were interrupted by footsteps in the hallway. Morvik quickly shut down the computer. Dr. Choi, it was Threndy. What are you doing here so late? I couldn't sleep, Wu Jin said. I was reading about art history. Threndy looked suspicious, but she didn't say anything. After she left, Morvik grabbed Wu Jin's arm. You must return to your people, he said. Tell them what you learned. Tell them that some of us remember what we used to be. Tell them they are not alone. Will you help us? Wu Jin asked. Morvik was quiet for a long moment. I am old and weak. The treatments made sure of that. But there are others. Hidden ones. Ones who escaped the changes. They have been waiting for 50,000 years. Waiting for what? For someone like you? Morvik said. Someone who still remembers how to fight. The next morning, Wu Jin received a message. The Confederation wanted to meet with him. They had questions about human biology. As he walked to the meeting, he passed a group of alien children playing in a park. They were gentle and quiet, playing games that had no winners or losers. They never fought or argued. It should have been beautiful. Instead, it was terrifying. These children had been bred to be harmless. They would never know the thrill of competition, the joy of victory, or even the lessons that came from defeat. They were perfectly peaceful and perfectly empty. At the meeting, Ambassador Veltar and several other officials were waiting. Dr. Choi Veltar said, we need to understand human reproduction. How do you choose mates? I'm sorry, Wu Jin said. Do the strongest humans get to breed? Do you fight for mating rights? We need to know how to stop these behaviors. Wu Jin realized they were already planning how to change humanity. They were studying humans like lab animals, figuring out how to make them harmless. We choose partners based on love, Wu Jin said carefully. Love, Quinda asked. What is love? For a moment, Wu Jin couldn't speak. These aliens had been changed so much that they didn't even understand love anymore. It's when two people care about each other more than themselves, he finally said. That the aliens looked confused. In their perfectly peaceful world, there was no room for the messy, complicated emotions that made life worth living. That night, sent a coded message to Earth. It was hidden in a research report about alien architecture. But the real message was simple. They don't just want to make us peaceful. They want to make us empty. Fight them. Fight them with everything we have. Far away on Earth, So Young Nam received the message. She looked out at the stars, where more Confederation ships appeared every day. Director, her assistant said. They're requesting permission to land. They want to begin cultural exchange programs. So Young smiled grimly. Tell them we're honored by their offer. Tell them we need time to prepare a proper welcome. And then we show them what happens when you threaten a predator's children. The war was about to begin, but the Confederation didn't know it yet. They were about to learn that 50,000 years of peace had made them forget something important. Predators are most dangerous when they're protecting their home. Commander Min Ho Yoon watched from his stealth fighter as Confederation landing ships approached the atmosphere. They moved slowly, confidently, like they owned the sky. Phoenix Squadron, this is lead, Min Ho said into his radio. Remember, they think we're harmless. Let's show them how wrong they are. The human fighters had been hidden in the asteroid belt for 3 days. The Confederation never saw them coming. By Minho's missiles hit the first landing ship before it knew it was under attack. The explosion lit up the morning sky like a second sun. What was that? Came a panicked voice over the Confederation radio channels. We're under attack. But by who? The Confederation had been watching Earth's orbital defenses. They thought they knew where all the human weapons were. They were wrong. On the surface, Captain Unesio Jung was coordinating the ground response. She stood in a hidden bunker, watching screens that showed Confederation troops landing in major cities around the world. Sector 7, report, she said into her headset. They've landed. In Central Park, came the reply from New York, just like you predicted. Peaceful formation. No weapons visible. Perfect, Unesio said. Execute plan, Rabbit. All over Earth, the same thing happened. Confederation troops landed expecting to meet frightened humans who would surrender quickly. Instead, they found seemingly empty cities. The humans were there, but hidden, watching. Waiting, in New York, the Confederation commander, a tall alien with blue skin, spoke through a translator device. People of Earth. His voice echoed through the empty streets. We come in peace. We are here to help you become better. Please come forward so we can begin the process. Silence. The commander looked confused. Perhaps they are afraid. Search the buildings, find them, and bring them to the processing centers. That's when the humans struck. From windows, from rooftops, from sewers and subway tunnels, humans appeared with weapons. Not advanced energy guns, but simple, effective tools. Hunting rifles, shotguns, even crossbows and slingshots. The Confederation troops had never seen anything like it. They were used to clean, organized battles between spaceships. They had never faced an enemy that hid in shadows and struck without warning. This is impossible, the blue-skinned commander shouted as his troops fell around him. They're supposed to be peaceful. In space, Captain Haiyan Wuxin was proving that humans could be just as surprising in naval combat. His ship, the Busan Warrior, was small compared to the Confederation vessels, but it was fast and commanded by someone who understood something. The aliens had forgotten. Sometimes the best defense is a good attack. All power to engines, Haiyan Wu ordered. Take us straight at their flagship, sir, his second officer asked. That's suicide. No, Haiyan Wu said with a grin. That's human. The Busan Warrior accelerated directly toward the massive Confederation command ship. The aliens watched in confusion as this tiny vessel charged them head-on. Are they surrendering? Asked Commander Zephron, the Confederation fleet leader. Don't think so, sir, his aide replied. They're powering weapons. At the last second, Haiyan Wu's ship dove under the command ship and fired everything it had at the engines. The huge vessel shuddered and began to drift helplessly. Impossible, Zephron whispered. How did they know our weak point? They knew, because humans had been studying Confederation ships for days, learning their designs, finding their flaws. It was what predators did. They learned their prey. Back in the Confederation research labs, Dr. Kyle Meat was frantically studying the battle recordings. This makes no sense, she said to her assistant. According to our data, humans should be Category 7, peaceful herbivores with limited combat ability. Perhaps our sensors were wrong, the assistant suggested. No, Dr. Kyle Meat said, pulling up biological scans. Look at this. Their eyes face forward for tracking prey. Their teeth are designed for tearing meat. Their muscles are built for pursuit hunting. She paused, her face growing pale. They're not failed predators, she whispered. They're perfect predators, the most dangerous kind. What kind is that? Persistence hunters, Dr. Kyle Meat said. They don't just kill their prey. They chase it until it dies of exhaustion. They never give up. They never stop coming. The assistant looked confused, but they came to us peacefully. Don't you see? Dr. Kyle Meat said. That was the hunt. They came to learn about us, to study us, to find our weaknesses. As if to prove her point, reports started coming in from across the galaxy. Human ships were appearing everywhere, striking at Confederation outposts and supply lines. How are they everywhere at once? Zephron demanded. The answer was simple. While the Confederation had been focused on Earth, humans had been spreading across space. Small teams, hidden ships, sleeper agents. They had been preparing for this war before the Confederation even knew there would be one. On Nexus Prime, Wu Jin was no longer pretending to be a harmless researcher. He was broadcasting messages to every species in the Confederation. My name is Dr. Wu Jin Choi, he said into a stolen communication device. I am human. We are the species your leaders want to destroy. But before you help them, ask yourself, what did you lose when they made you peaceful? The message reached billions of aliens across thousands of worlds. Most deleted it immediately, as they had been trained to do, but some listened. On the planet Vorth, in a hidden cave, an old alien named Velanok heard the message. He was the last unmodified member of his species, hidden for 50,000 years. Velanok looked at his hands. Once they had been strong enough to crush stone, now they were weak, barely able to hold a cup, but his mind remembered. He remembered what it felt like to run, to hunt, to fight, to be alive. Brothers, he whispered to the darkness, it is time to wake up. The war was spreading faster than the Confederation could respond. Every day brought new reports of human attacks, new rebellions among supposedly loyal species, new questions about everything the Confederation claimed to believe. On Earth, Minho was leading another strike against a Confederation base when his radio crackled. Phoenix Lead, this is home base. We're getting messages from alien rebels. They want to join the fight. Minho smiled inside his helmet. Tell them welcome to the party. The Confederation had spent 50,000 years building a galaxy of sheep. They had forgotten that sheep were only safe as long as there were no wolves around. Now the wolves were back, and they were hungry. Borm Yoon had never expected to be a diplomat in the middle of a war. But here she was, sitting across from a group of alien rebels who barely remembered how to fight. You must understand, said Kervik, who had once been called something else before the Confederation changed his species. We have not fought in 50,000 years. Our bodies are weak. Our weapons are old. That's okay, Borm said. We can teach you. The meeting was taking place on a small moon at the edge of Confederation space. Representatives from 12 different species had come, all carrying the same message. They wanted to remember who they used to be. The humans fight differently than we expected, said another rebel, an insect-like creature whose real name was unpronounceable. Your people don't just attack. You think, you plan, you adapt. That's what predators do, Bio explained. We study our enemies, we learn their weaknesses, then we use those weaknesses against them. Meanwhile, deep in Confederation space, Chung Min-oh was leading a different kind of mission. His team of 12 humans had infiltrated a genetic modification facility on the planet Kepler-7. Remember? Changmin whispered to his squad as they moved through the darkened corridors. We're not here to destroy the place. We're here to free the people inside. The facility was huge, filled with thousands of aliens in various stages of treatment. Some were having their muscles weakened, others were having their brains altered to remove aggressive thoughts. This is sick, muttered one of Changmin's soldiers. Focus, Changmin said. We have a job to do. They found the central computer and uploaded a virus created by Earth's best programmers. Within minutes, all the genetic modification equipment shut down. Alarms started blaring. Confederation guards came running. Time to go, Changmin said. But as they prepared to leave, something unexpected happened. The aliens who had been undergoing treatment started breaking out of their restraints. Wait, said one of them, a creature that looked like a cross between a bear and a lizard. You're the humans, the ones who are fighting back. Yes, Changmin said. We're here to help. Then help us remember, the alien said. Help us remember what we were. Changmin looked at his soldiers. This wasn't part of the plan. But sometimes, the best plans were the ones you made up as you went along. Can you fight? He asked. The alien flexed muscles that had been weakened by years of treatment. They were still strong enough. We can learn, the alien said. Back on Earth, Intelligence Officer Era Kim was working on a different kind of warfare. She had broken the Confederation's communication codes and was listening to their secret messages. What she heard changed everything. Director Nam, she said, rushing into So Young's command center. You need to hear this. She played a recording of 2 Confederation officials talking. The Central Council has authorized the Genesis Protocol, one voice said. Are you certain? Asked the other. That weapon hasn't been used since the Apex Wars. The humans are spreading too fast. They're awakening too many species. If we don't act now, we could lose control of the entire galaxy. What is the Genesis Protocol? So Young asked. Era pulled up classified files she had stolen from Confederation computers. It's a weapon that can rewrite DNA across an entire star system. They used it to wipe out the last predator species 50,000 years ago. They're going to use it on Earth. Not just Earth, Era said grimly. Every world where humans have been active. Every species that's joined our rebellion. They're going to hit everything at once. So Young felt cold. How long do we have? The weapon is hidden somewhere in the Nexus system. If they activate it from there, it will spread across the galaxy in waves. Every predator species will be turned into herbivores, or dead. Then we have to stop them, So Young said. We're fighting a guerrilla war. We don't have the firepower to assault their capital. So Young was quiet for a moment. Then she smiled grimly. We don't need to assault it, she said. We need to sneak in, and I know just the person for the job. On the other side of the galaxy, Cythera was making a choice that would have been impossible a month ago. Cythera had been a loyal Federation officer for 300 years. She had believed in peace, in order, in the rightness of their Kazen. She had watched humans fight. She had seen them refuse to give up, refuse to surrender, refuse to be anything other than what they were. And she had started to remember things about her own species that she had forgotten. Commander Saichadaha aides said, "We have new orders from Central Command." What are they? We're to begin bombardment of the human colony on New Shanghai. Full sterilization protocol. Cythera looked at the orders. Full sterilization meant killing everyone on the planet. Not just humans, but the aliens who had joined them. Families, children, everyone. No, she said quietly. Sir. I said no. Cythera turned to face her crew. I will not murder innocents in the name of peace. Her aide reached for his weapon, but Cythera was faster. She had been remembering her species' warrior heritage. Anyone else have a problem with my orders? She asked. The bridge was silent. Good, Era said. Send a message to the human forces. Tell them they have a new ally. Across the galaxy, the same scene was playing out on hundreds of ships, thousands of worlds. The Confederation's own forces were turning against them. The rebellion was no longer just human. It was becoming something bigger. something the galaxy hadn't seen in 50,000 years. It was becoming a war for the right to be yourself. The last true Vorthok stood in his cave and felt something he hadn't felt in decades. Hope. My brothers, he said to the gathered aliens who had traveled from across the galaxy to find him. The humans have shown us the way, but now we must choose our own path. What do you mean? Asked one of them. I mean it's time to stop being what they made us, Velenak said. It's time to remember what we really are. He led them to a hidden chamber deep in the cave. Inside were artifacts from the old days, weapons, armor, and most importantly, genetic samples from before the modifications. The treatments can be reversed, Velenak said, but it's dangerous. Some of us might not survive. What about those who do survive? Asked Kervik. Velenak smiled, and for the first time in 50,000 years, it was the smile of a predator. Those who survive will remember how to hunt. The awakening had begun. Across the galaxy, hidden groups of unmodified aliens were emerging. From their hiding places, ancient weapons were being uncovered. Forgotten fighting techniques were being relearned. The Confederation had created a galaxy of sheep. But now the sheep were remembering that they used to be wolves, and the wolves were getting hungry. Admiral Dong Hyen Lim stood on the bridge of the Soul Revenge, watching the largest fleet in human history prepare for battle. Around him were ships from dozens of species, all united by one simple idea, the right to be what you were born to be. Fleet status, he asked. 1,200 ships ready for combat, reported his aide. That includes 300 human vessels and 900 from allied species. Dong Hyen nodded. It was impressive, but he knew it wasn't enough. The Confederation had tens of thousands of ships. This would be like attacking a city with a single squad of soldiers. But sometimes, one squad in the right place could win a war. Ma'am, called out the communications officer, we're receiving a transmission from Infiltration Team Alpha. On the main screen, Myung Seo's face appeared. She was inside a maintenance shaft somewhere in the heart of Nexus Prime. Admiral, we've reached the Genesis facility, she reported. It's bigger than we thought. The weapon isn't just one device. It's a network of machines spread across the entire station. Can you destroy it? Dong Hyen asked. That's the problem, Myung said. If we destroy it, it will activate automatically. The explosion will trigger the Genesis field across the galaxy. Then what do you recommend? Myung was quiet for a moment. We need to reverse it. Instead of turning predators into herbivores, we turn it around. Make it restore all the modified species to their original forms. Is that possible? Jinwoo thinks so, Myung said, referring to their cyber warfare expert. But we need time, and we need you to keep the Confederation busy. Dong Hyen looked out at his small fleet facing the entire galaxy. How much time? 6 hours. You've got it, Dong Hyen said. Good hunting. The transmission ended. Dong Hyen turned to his crew. All ships, this is Admiral Lim. Today we're not fighting to win, we're fighting to buy time. Our job is to be so annoying that they can't ignore us. On the other side of the system, Supreme Counselor Nextul was growing increasingly frustrated. The human rebellion had spread far beyond what anyone had predicted. How many systems have we lost? He asked his aide. 47, sir, and more are declaring independence every day. This is impossible, Nextul said. They're just one species, one small, primitive species, sir. Perhaps we should reconsider the Genesis protocol, using it on such a large scale. No, Nextul said firmly. The protocol was created for exactly this situation. When predator species threaten galactic order, they must be eliminated completely. He turned to look out at the stars. 50,000 years ago, we made the galaxy safe. Now we'll do it again. But even as he spoke, his own forces were beginning to question their orders. On ship after ship, alien crews were remembering things they had forgotten. Commander Cythera's defection had started something that was spreading like wildfire. Confederation officers were deserting, taking their ships with them. Entire fleets were switching sides. Sir, the aide said nervously, we're receiving reports of mutinies throughout the fleet. Then we'll activate the protocol immediately, Nextul said, before any more of our forces can be corrupted. Deep inside Nexus Prime, Myung and her team were racing against time. Ginwoo Park was working at a computer terminal, his fingers flying over alien controls. How much longer? Myung asked. I'm trying to understand their programming language, Ginwoo said. It's completely different from anything we've seen. We don't have time for a language lesson, said another team member. Wait, said a new voice. It was Morvik, the old Vorthok who had been helping them. I know this system. My people helped build the original version 50,000 years ago. You did what? Myung asked. Before we were modified, the Vorthok were engineers as well as warriors. The Confederation forced us to help create the weapon that would destroy us. Morvik's 3 eyes were filled with old pain. I can help you reverse it. But there's something you need to know. What process will affect everyone in the galaxy? Every species that was modified will return to their original form. But the change will be violent. Many will not survive. Myung looked at her team. They were facing a terrible choice. Leave the galaxy as it was, with billions of beings living as shadows of what they once were, or change them back and risk killing millions in the process. How many do you think will die? She asked. perhaps 20%, Morvik said. But the 80% who survive will truly be alive for the first time in 50,000 years. Outside, the battle was beginning. Dong Haen's fleet had engaged the Confederation forces, and space was filled with laser fire and exploding ships. Phoenix Squadron, attack pattern Delta, came Minho's voice over the radio. Hit their command ship and break off. The human fighters were outnumbered 100 to 1, but they were fighting like their ancestors had fought on Earth. Smart, fast, and completely unpredictable. They're everywhere, shouted a Confederation pilot. How are there so many of them? There weren't actually that many human ships, but they were using every trick in the book: electronic decoys, stealth technology, and tactics that confused an enemy used to straightforward battles. Kervik, flying his first combat mission in 50,000 years, felt something awakening. In his chest, his people had been hunters once, sky hunters who could dive from orbit and strike with precision. This is Kervik, to all Vorthok pilots, he said into his radio. Remember who we were, remember who we are. Around him, other modified aliens were also remembering. The genetic treatments had weakened their bodies, but not destroyed their instincts. They were predators, and they were coming home. Back in the Genesis facility, Jinwoo had finally cracked the alien code. I can reverse it, he said, but Mo is right. The process will be traumatic for everyone in the galaxy. Do it, Myung said without hesitation. Are you sure? Myung thought about everything they had learned. The billions of beings who had been forced to live as pale shadows of themselves, the species that had been completely destroyed, the children who would never know what their people had once been capable of. Better to die as yourself than live as someone else's idea of who you should be, she said. Jinwoo nodded and began entering commands. Across the galaxy, the Genesis field began to activate, but instead of spreading death, it carried the gift of memory. On 1,000 worlds, beings who had been changed began to change back. It was painful, sometimes deadly, but for those who survived, it was like waking up from a dream. Velenok felt it first. In his cave on Vorth, his body began to grow stronger, his muscles expanded, his claws grew sharp again. My brothers, he whispered, we are free. Across space, the same transformation was happening to millions of beings. The Confederation's perfect, peaceful galaxy was coming apart as its citizens remembered what peace had cost them. In the battle around Nexus Prime, Confederation ships suddenly found themselves facing crews who no longer wanted to fight for the people who had stolen their heritage. This is impossible, Nixdol said as he watched his empire crumble around him. We brought peace to the galaxy. No, said a voice behind him. It was his own aide, but the alien's body was changing, growing stronger. You brought emptiness. Now we choose to be full again. The aide's species had been herbivores for so long that everyone had forgotten. They were once predators to Dot. Now they remembered. The Genesis field continued to spread, carrying change to every corner of the galaxy. Some beings died in the transformation. Others were reborn as something they hadn't been in millennia, but all of them, for the first time in 50,000 years, had a choice about who they wanted to be. The Confederation's war against the Predators was over. The Predators had won. 6 months after the Genesis reversal, Director Seungwon Jung stood in the council chamber of what was now called the Reformed Galactic Assembly. Around him sat representatives from 300 species, many of whom looked very different than they had a year ago. The reports from Sector 7? He asked. 3 more conflicts this week, reported Eugene Lee, who had become the Assembly's chief explorer and cultural liaison. The newly awakened Zak are having territorial disputes with the Confederation remnants. Seungwon sighed. The galaxy was more dangerous now. That was true. When beings remembered how to fight, some of them wanted to fight everything. Send in the peacekeepers, suggested Kervik, who now served as military advisor. His body had fully transformed back to its original Vorthok form. Tall, powerful, covered in natural armor. The peacekeepers were a new idea, mixed teams of humans and reformed aliens, who specialized in stopping conflicts before they became wars. Approved, Seungwon said. What about the exploration reports? Eugene activated a holographic display showing the galaxy. We've made contact with 17 new species in the Outer Rim, all of them natural predators who avoided Confederation space. How are they reacting to the changes? Most are cautious but interested, Eugene said. They want to know if it's really safe to come out of hiding. This was one of the biggest surprises of the post-war galaxy. Dozens of predator species had survived by hiding in unexplored regions. Now they were emerging to find a galaxy that had changed dramatically. There's something else, Eugene continued. We've found evidence of other galaxies that went through similar pacification processes. The Confederation wasn't unique. Seungwon felt a chill. You mean there are other places where predator species were eliminated? Not eliminated, said a new voice from the back of the chamber. Just waiting. Everyone turned to see who had spoken. It was Jitmoon, a human philosopher who had been studying the changes in galactic society. Waiting for what? Seungwon asked. For someone to show them it was possible to fight back, Gite said. Word is spreading beyond our galaxy. Other predator species are starting to remember what they once were. The implications were staggering. If other galaxies had been pacified like theirs, and if those galaxies were now awakening, one problem at a time, Sungwon said. First, we need to make sure our own galaxy doesn't tear itself apart. It was a real concern. Freedom was messy. Some species were handling their newfound strength responsibly. Others were using it to settle old scores or claim new territory. Perhaps we need new guidelines, suggested Zarevic, a young alien whose species had only recently remembered their predatory nature. Rules for how predators and prey species can coexist. Rules? Asked Melkorin, whose people had chosen to remain herbivores despite the Genesis reversal. Who would enforce such rules? We would, said a human voice. It was Bjormune, now serving as the Assembly's chief diplomat. Humans, and anyone else who chooses to take responsibility. This had become humanity's role in the new galaxy. Not rulers, but teachers. Species who remembered how to fight, but also remembered why fighting should be the last resort. The balanced protocols are working, Bjorm continued. 70 systems have adopted them. Violence is down 60% compared to the early months after the reversal. The balanced protocols were simple. Predator species could claim territory and hunt, but they couldn't drive other species to extinction. Prey species had the right to defend themselves and form alliances. Everyone had the right to choose what they wanted to be. What about the Confederation remnants? Asked another representative. Most have integrated into the new system, Kervik reported. Some former leaders have requested genetic reversal to return to their species' original forms. Others have chosen exile in the Outer Rim. And next, still in protective custody on Earth, Sunghwan said his own people requested that we keep him safe. Apparently, his species were fierce predators before the modifications. They were afraid of what they might do to him if they see him again. It was ironic. The former Supreme Counselor was now protected by the very species he had tried to eliminate. A chime sounded, indicating an urgent message. Yujin checked her communicator. What is it? Sungwon asked. Long-range sensors have detected something, Yujin said. A fleet of ships approaching from outside the galaxy. Unknown configuration. Everyone in the chamber tensed. Were they about to face a new invasion? Composition? Kervik asked, his warrior instincts kicking in. Approximately 50 vessels? But Director... Yujin paused. They're broadcasting on human frequencies. Sunghan felt his pulse quicken, meaning they're using communication protocols that only Earth knows. Either someone has been studying us very carefully, or they're human ships, Sungwan finished. But that was impossible. Earth's entire space fleet was accounted for. The answer came an hour later, when the lead ship entered communication. Range, this is Admiral Sarah Chen of the Earth Colonial Fleet, came a voice over the radio, requesting permission to dock. Sarah Chen, Sungwan asked Yujin quietly. Do we know that name? Yujin was checking records. Here it is. Admiral Sarah Chen commanded Earth's first interstellar colony ship. She left Earth 75 years ago with 50,000 colonists. They were presumed lost when they failed to report from their destination. Apparently not lost, Sungwan said. Open a channel. Admiral Chen, this is Director Jung of the Reformed Galactic Assembly. Welcome home. Thank you, Director, came the reply. We've been monitoring your transmissions. We heard about the war, about the Genesis reversal. We came as soon as we could. Where have you been for 75 years? Building, Admiral Chen said. We found a system at the edge of the galaxy. Rich planets. No intelligent life. We've been establishing colonies, building ships, preparing. Preparing for what? For today when Earth might need us? Chen said. We always knew the galaxy was dangerous. We just didn't know how dangerous until we intercepted Confederation signals talking about pacifying Earth. Sunghuan smiled. Even separated by vast distances, humans were still looking out for each other. What can you tell us about the galaxy? Biondi asked. It's vast, Chen replied. And you're right about other pacified regions. We found 3 other galaxies that show signs of similar control systems. Artificial peace imposed by force. Are they awakening too? Some are. Your Genesis reversal sent out signals that traveled faster than light. Other predator species have detected them. They're starting to remember. Jiite Moon leaned forward. How many galaxies are we talking about? At least 12 in our local cluster, Chen said. Maybe more. The chamber was quiet as everyone absorbed this information. They had thought their struggle was unique. Instead, it appeared to be part of something much larger. Admiral Sungwan said, how would you like to help us explore this larger universe? That's why we came back, Chen replied. Earth's children are ready to leave the nest. It's time to see what else is out there. 3 days later, Yujin Li stood on the observation deck of the exploration ship New Sol, watching as the first joint human reformed alien fleet prepared to leave the galaxy. Nervous? Asked her companion, a reformed Vorthok named Kempt. Excited, Yujin said. For 50,000 years, this galaxy was isolated, cut off from the rest of the universe by fear. Now we get to reconnect. And if we find hostile species, other confederations, Yujin smiled, then we'll teach them the same lesson we taught the last one, which is that predators and prey can coexist. But only if everyone chooses coexistence freely. The fleet began to move, heading toward the galactic edge and the unknown beyond. Behind them, the reformed Galactic Assembly continued its work of building a new kind of civilization. It wasn't perfect. There were still conflicts. Still, species learning to balance their rediscovered nature with the needs of galactic society. But it was alive in a way the galaxy hadn't been for 50 millennia. Sungwon Jung stood in his office, looking out at the stars. His aide brought him the daily reports. Trade agreements between former enemies, scientific collaborations, even interspecies sports leagues. Sir, the aide said, there's one more thing. A message from the Outer Rim exploration teams. What did they find? Another galaxy. One that was never pacified. They're requesting first contact protocols. Sungwon nodded. Send the standard package, and make sure they know we come in peace, sir. Aren't we predators? Sungwon smiled. Yes, but we're predators who choose when to hunt and when to protect. That's what makes us human. Outside his window, ships from dozens of species moved through space together. Some were predators, some were prey, some were somewhere in between. All of them were free to be what they chose to be, and in a universe where choice had been forbidden for so long, that was the greatest victory of all. The galaxy belonged to everyone now, and everyone was learning how to share.